was a peaceful evening and I had finished getting ready for bed. Just as I'm about to climb into the bed, my husband, Kingsley, walked into the room. There was a playful look on his face and I can see something in his eyes that made me pause. His smile was wide, like he had a secret he couldn't wait to share. I knew that look well. Over the years, my husband, Kingsley, had surprised me many times, always finding new ways to keep our relationship exciting. But tonight, there was something different in the air. It wasn't just the youthful playfulness we often share. It felt deeper, more intense, like an unspoken understanding between us. Kingsley, my husband, slowly walked towards me, his eyes never leaving my eyes. There was a gentleness in his movement, but also a sense of purpose that made my heart race. As he stood in front of me, he reached out and gently brushed a strand of hair from my face. As I climbed into bed, the soft sheets cooled against my skin. I noticed my husband, Kingsley, standing at the front of the bed. His eyes were focused on me, full of a kind of quiet intensity that made my heart beat a little faster. I could tell he had something on his mind. The room was silent, except for the sound of our breathing. The way he looked at me made me feel like something important is about to happen. He stood there for a moment, just watching me, before he finally spoke. I have something I want to ask you, he said, his voice low and serious. It wasn't his usual playful tone, which made me curious. I raised an eyebrow, my heart now thumping in my chest. What is it? I asked, a small smile playing on my lips. I couldn't help but feel a little excited. Kingsley always had a way of keeping me on my toes, always surprising me with something new, but this time, there was something different in the way he spoke, something that made me feel like these were just more than a simple request. Slowly, Kingsley walked towards the bed and sat down beside me. He reached out and gently took my hand in his fingers, warm and strong. I looked into his eyes and saw something. There was a mist of excitement and tenderness, like he had been thinking about this for a long time and was finally ready to share it with me. Trust me, he whispered, his voice barely above a breath. His eyes searched mine, looking for that trust, that connection we had built over the years. I want to try something new tonight. Kingsley positioned himself near the edge of the bed and asked me to lie back. Spread your legs, he said softly, almost hesitantly. I could feel my pulse quicking at his words. This wasn't like anything we've ever done before. I slowly patted my legs and he knelt between them, his eyes filled with both love and intensity one hadn't seen in a long time. I want to show you something, he murmured. He reached out, gently brushing his fingers along my skin. I felt vulnerable, but there was something exciting about this vulnerability. My husband, Kingsley, I always call him my king, had always made me feel safe, and tonight was no different. I closed my eyes, letting myself relax in the moment. What happened next was something I didn't expect at all. Kingsley leaned in closer and I could see the look in his eyes. He placed his hand gently on my thighs, making me feel a little bit nervous and also excited. I could feel his warm breath against my skin and it sent shivers up my spine. I had never felt like this before. Then, to my surprise, he did something I never thought he would. It was soft and gentle kiss, like a whisper. It felt special and intimate, as if we were in our own little world, away from everything else. I could hardly believe it was happening, and my heart started to race. Guys, it wasn't just something I felt in my body. There was something deep inside my heart too. What Kingsley was doing felt special special and different. He had always been sweet and thoughtful, but this was something much more. Ouch! I felt like he really cared about me in a way I had never felt before. I could see it in his eyes and the way he moved. It was as if he wanted to know every part of me, not just the outside but inside too. The new level of care and devotion made my heart flutter with happiness. I realized that this was not just a simple moment. It was something magical, something that made me feel connected to him in a way I hadn't expected. I wanted to hold on to this feeling forever, like a beautiful memory I could keep in my heart. I slowly opened my eyes and looked down at Kingsley. He was gazing back at me with a warm smile, and I noticed his eyes sparkled in affection and desire. In that very moment, I understood something very important. Something very, very important. He loved me deeply, not just as his wife, but as a woman who deserved to be cherished and admired. It felt like I was seeing him in a whole new light. The way he looked at me made me feel special, as if I was the most important person in the world to him. I could see that he appreciated everything about me, from my laughter to my dreams. This love was so powerful. It filled my heart with joy and made me feel safe. I realized that I was not just someone he was married to. I was someone he truly valued and respected. In his eyes, I saw a promise of love that was deep and everlasting, and it made me feel incredibly happy and loved. As the night went on, I couldn't help but feel a sense of awe at how Kingsley continued to surprise me even after years of being together. It wasn't just about the act itself, it was about the way he made it feel cherished, desired, and understood. For the first time, I saw not just as my husband, but as someone who could push boundaries and still maintain the core of our relationship. He was exploring a deeper side of intimacy, one that went beyond physical and tapped into something more emotional and spiritual. Afterward, we didn't say anything. There was no need for words. The connection we had felt in that moment spoke volumes. As we lay there side by side, I realized that this was a new chapter in our relationship. Yes. Kingsley, my king, looked over at me, his face soft and peaceful. "How do you feel?" he asked, breaking the silence. I smiled, squeezing his hand. Surprised, I admitted, but in a good way. That night had opened something new in our relationship. We began to explore each other in ways we hadn't before. Kingsley had always been attentive to my needs, but now it felt like we were on a journey of rediscovery. Ouch! We talked more openly about our desires, our fears, and our fantasies. It was liberating to have those conversations without fear of judgment or rejection. I realized that intimacy wasn't just about the physical, it was about being vulnerable to each other in every way. As our relationship deepened, so did the trust between us. My husband, Kingsley, had always been my rock, but now, guys, I felt like I could share anything with him, even my most private thoughts and feelings. It was as if the night had opened a door to deeper connection between us. We started spending more time together, not just in the bedroom, but in every aspect of our lives. We laughed more, shared more, and loved more openly. I felt like we were rediscovering the magic that had brought us together in the first place. My husband Kingsley continued to surprise me, not just in the bedroom, but in every aspect of our relationship. He was more attentive, more affectionate. One evening, as we were lying on the bed, I decided to share my thoughts. "You've really surprised me," I admitted. "I didn't expect things to change so much after all these years." Kingsley smiled and pulled me closer. "I've always wanted to make you happy," he said softly. "I guess I just found new ways to show it." The more we explored each other emotionally and physically, the more I realized how much we still had to give.